The Lions Automobilia Foundation Museum is way more than a museum. It's an experience.
Not every day you find a museum like this around, and especially to do with Lions drag strip.
Every time I walk in the door, I'll see something new and I go, oh, that's new. And they go, no, that's been here. There's so much to see here.
I think they are actually in shock. They have no idea that this exists. And they kind of walk in the door and they don't know what to expect.
Kind of interesting. You kind of come in and then you turn another corner and another corner, and you don't realize how large this place actually is.
I think it's very important to preserve this. It's history, and we don't want to lose our history.
I think I'm having a love affair with this museum. I know I am.
My name is Jack Beckman, and it's an honor to get to do things like this. Before we officially kick this off, we are at the Lions Automobilia. Why? What was so special about Lions? Show of hands, how many people never went to Lions? I missed it by a year. Orange County 73, I missed it. But I've read all the magazines, I've got the DVDs, I've immersed myself in it. Why Lions? It's been gone over 50 years. It wasn't the fastest track around. Anybody know who held the ultimate low ET from Lions? There are no prizes, unless Rick wants to give a Willys away. And it happened at the last drag race. Don Moody, 6:02. But he'd already gone over a tenth quicker the month before at Ontario. It wasn't the quickest track. Wasn't the safest track. Many fatalities at Lions, unfortunately. It lasted for 17 years. I called my friend Brett Kepner, one of the absolute encyclopedias in drag racing. I've got the greatest set of phone of friends on the planet. I want to know something, all I have to know is the number. They're going to get me all the stats. And I said, Brett, drop me a pin where Lions existed and draw me a 50-mile radius circle there. Tell me how many tracks existed in Southern California in that area. Now keep in mind, that would leave out anything in Antelope Valley, definitely left out Bakersfield, left out all the tracks that were in the San Diego area. 27 tracks existed in that area. So Lions was less than 4% of the tracks in this area, but it stood out head and shoulders above all of them. Why? Rick, if you want to give away 41 Willys, I got another trivia question. Lions lasted 17 years. Not even close to the longest lasting Southern California drag strip. Anybody have a guess? The longest lasting Southern California drag strip? Man, I'll give you a hint. We're going to run there pretty soon. 71 years at Pomona, 1952 to current. It's still going. But Lions is still the one that sticks out head and shoulders above the rest. Is Carl Olson in the house? Where's Carl? God, do I wish I had my eyes from 30 years ago, Carl. Carl was the winner at the last drag race there. And he'll never let anybody forget that. But that's a pretty he did a lot of stuff in his career, but that's the only thing he did. He's still pretty cool. So I was asking Carl when I first came in this museum, and I said, what was it that was so special about Lions? I said, was it like the number of tough cars? Because Southern California back then, from 55 to 72, oh my God, not just the fuel cars. Boy, when the funny cars came out, it was extra special. But the stock eliminator cars, he says, yeah, there's a lot of cars there. I said, what was it, the competitors? Was it the air? Was it the track? Was it the era? Was it the social environment? And he didn't have to think long. Carl said, you know what, Jack? It was everything. That's what made Lions so special. And we're here to celebrate a part of that tonight. So you guys ready to officially kick off the Lions Automobilia second annual Hall of Fame inductions? All right, we're going to start with the national anthem. See if I get this right, Heidi. Heidi is the longest reigning and will be the last ever USO Queen. I don't know what she did to the rest of them after that, but she is it. So to sing our national anthem, I'm proud to introduce Heidi Marie Farron.
and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Wouldn't it be cool if you could take your seats. I just wanted to hear a pair of Top Fuel cars pushing down. That would have made this extra special. I mentioned earlier, this is the second annual. Last year was the first induction into the Lions Automobilia Hall of Fame. It's not the only Hall of Fame. It's not the only drag race Hall of Fame. It's the only one that celebrates the most popular drag racing chunk of asphalt that ever existed in the universe. And I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that. I could listen to Ed Iskandarian talk all damn night. And we're going to get Ed up on stage here in a few minutes. Last year at the inaugural inductions, list of heavy hitters. You might recognize some of these names, starting with our 102-year-old guest, Ed Iskandarian. Gentleman named Don the Snake Prudhomme, he'll be taking the stage in a few minutes. Vic Edelbrock Sr., the first manager ever of Lions, Mickey Thompson, and the second manager ever at Lions, C.J. Pappy Hart. 5. And there is a lot of deserving people. We're going to put 8 in this year, so things are going to start moving along at a pretty good pace. This year's inductees are going to be Robert Balogh. Bones, you got people, don't you? Gary Gabelich, Keith Black, Tom the Mongoose McEwen, Doug Cook, Ed Pink, Jim Dunn, and the cute blonde that drives this car, a lady named Linda Vaughn. Obviously, this evening is about celebrating people who have done something significant and lasting in the sports legacy. Another goal of the event, and more broadly the whole museum, have you guys got a chance to walk around and see this place? Mind-blowing. What Rick's done here, and he's going to take the stage in a few minutes and talk to you guys a little about this, is just absolutely stunning. The murals, the displays, the interactions are going to start taking place here. And it's not just about showing off some pretty cool iron to people here. It's passing on our wisdom to the next generation through Lions youth engagement program and partnerships. And towards that end, there's a lot of specific and targeted programs that are coming up that are going to make a difference for the next generation of people. If I can get your guys' attention on the video screens.
We're going to truly preserve and honor motorsports and car culture in California. You have to tell its story.
The museum is more than a museum, and it depicts an era that we grew up in.
Because when you walk in, you're walking into just a different time.
I'm just really reliving my youth.
They're walking through his story.
That excitement, just something I don't want to forget. All these things mean something to me.
You see his enthusiasm for the automobile, for the car culture.
And that's the feeling when you walk in. It's kind of like, wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to bring to the stage the man who's turned a childhood passion into an incredible gathering of cars, art, and a group of people determined to carry forward this legacy, Rick Lorenzen. I don't know if Rick's going to mention it. Yvonne Michalis, where are you, Yvonne? Raise your hand. She's sitting in the back of the room. I know that. Didn't get the ticket upgrade there, huh? And where's Youngblood? Where's Kenny? This place rivals the Sistine Chapel. What you guys have done here is just absolutely stunning. Rick, take it away, sir.
Well, like you said, Jack, welcome here to our Lions Drag Strip Museum, and it was everything. And it's what I want to keep honoring and living for. My daughter's in line to take over the foundation, and I'm so appreciative of you people, and it makes me so happy to see you enjoy this, and it's just something that we got to do. And I want to thank all the participants, the artists, the constructors, everybody involved in this, from Rob Marchese and Lana and all the docents, all the people involved in putting this together and making it what it is. I just, it's incredible, and thank you all for being here. And please come back again. I have a special announcement tonight. As some of you probably know, and all should know, Lions Drag Strip was started by the Lions Clubs there's 8 Lions Clubs here in the South Bay area. They put up the money for Mickey Thompson to build Lions Drag Strip. They put up $45,000. Then they put up another, I think, $35,000 or $40,000 to build Lions Drag Strip. Imagine that. Mickey built it. Thank you, Mickey. And that loan was paid back in 2 years because of all the people that got involved and attended Lions. It was a smashing success.
What Rick is saying is it was run as a not-for-profit, and in fact it injected a ton of money into the community. Would it have been nice to have it stick around another 20 years? Exactly.
It was the place to be. I personally lost a couple girlfriends because they didn't want to go, and I went anyway. So.
Actually, Rick, one of them's outside right now, said her check didn't clear for the ticket. So one of them's standing outside right now.
I got back to Wilmington where I grew up, and they were out cruising with somebody else, so it was over. But I really, really appreciate everybody being here, being involved, and please come back. We're still working on it. We still got some more things to go, and it's awesome. Thank you. And at this point, I want to introduce Norm McDaniel, who is going to form the West Long Beach Lions Club here that will be headquartered here, which is one of the original clubs that founded Lions Drag Strip. And
thank you, Rick. Thank you very much. How do you follow that, gentlemen? You know, it's tough to do. Thank you, everybody, thank you, Linda, for clapping. I appreciate that. I got one friend in the audience, or fan. As Rick was saying, this is quite an opportunity for us, the Lions organization, and also all of you out here tonight. So, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here this evening representing the new formation of the West Long Beach Lions Club here in this museum. Quick story on how this really came about. Well, over about a year ago, I was talking to Tammy and Lana, and I was invited to attend an event at the Lions Museum, much like tonight. After meeting Rick and learning his passion regarding car culture, this museum, and his drive for, engaging the youth in the surrounding communities, I became interested in this in a different way. How can the Lions become a part of this and assist with fundraising efforts, to keep Rick's dream alive and to engage the youth? Lions Drag Strip was created by a Lions Club. That Lions Club was the West Long Beach Lions Club here in Wilmington. One of the members happened to be a judge of that club. He was seeing a lot of kids come to his bench that were street racing in and around the area, and he thought he had to do something about this. Came up with the idea, and some of the other Lions in his clubs, to create this drag strip. And as Rick had mentioned and others mentioned, they originally started with $45,000. That soon grew within a couple of months to $95,000, and that's how they started this. And again, that was back in 1954. They came up with the idea. The drag strip actually opened October 9th, 1955. And at that time, as they said earlier, Mickey Thompson was the manager of that strip at that time. And on opening day, believe this or not, on opening day, there was a crowd in excess of 10,000 attendees and over 400 cars on that December day, on that October day. And then unfortunately, as most of you know, the drag strip closed in December of '72, and they had the event here last year for that. But prior to that, as mentioned here earlier, tremendous amount of money came into the community. Millions of dollars out of that drag strip came into this community, and its closure, obviously, that created a great void. And we are going to come into a position to hopefully take that off their hands. So again, thanks to Rick and his dedication for the Lions Drag Strip and the memories of these who were here in the beginning and preserve around us in this building. And with that, another opportunity for us once again to make an impact on the surrounding communities is here tonight. Let's create a specialty Lions Club associated with the museum to assist in its community outreach and funding arm. I'm happy to inform you that that now is becoming a reality. The reformation of the West Long Beach Lions Club, a specialty Lions Club, with members dedicated to preserving car culture and engaging youth. Best of all, every one of you here in this audience tonight can and be, and hopefully will be, a part of this momentous occasion and become a charter member of this club. Lions Club International is the largest membership-based service club in the world. The club has, the membership is approximately 1.4 million members, serving locally and globally around the world to help some of the biggest challenges facing humanity today. In contrast to standard clubs which draw from a cross-section of the community, a specialty club comes to the interest here being car culture. With today's online video technology, everyone can be part of this Lions Club, no matter where you are in a geographic location. For example, we have one of the charter members that actually is in Arizona. That is a gentleman, some of you may know, Bob Paget. He has agreed to become a member of the club living in Arizona. Again, the boundaries that we used to have because of technology is not there. So real quickly, who are Lions? When caring people join together, roll up their sleeves, and take action to make their community better, it's a beautiful thing and an incredible feeling for everyone involved. That's what Lions are. Being a Lion is about leading by example, building relationships, and improving the world through kindness. It's 1.4 million caring men and women serving together so they can make a lasting impact and change in human lives. The benefits of being a Lion. When you become a Lion, you're part of a global network of volunteers working together to make a difference. Join the community for good. There are over 48,000 Lions clubs around the world. Each is filled with people like you who've decided to take action and serve others. Lions form unique friendships and meaningful connections that can be lasting a lifetime. A Lions Club is a great place to continue to develop your leadership skills and also those of the youth in the community. Lions, the youth of the community, Lions, the youth arm of the Lions community are kids 12 to 18 years of age. Many of the leadership opportunities associated with Lions clubs and Lions International offers resources for these young people looking to grow their impact in being possibly a project organizer and a motivator and or a leader to their peers in their community. So again, engaging the youth. The leadership experience. Together, and Lions, together with the youth, Lions form a powerful partnership, one of mutual respect where Lions, from the innovative insights of the youth, and the Lions can actually create and pass on the leadership skills that they've so successfully used for many years. At the heart of Lions Club, there's one constant, and that's service. Giving your time and energy to others is a fantastic way to help your community. Yet it also provides a great feeling for you that you can have an impact and spread a positive word throughout the world. Tonight, we're going to have some sheets such as this. They're little applications forms, really simple, and some information forms about what Lions Clubs are all about and how that is going to benefit the museum and the youth of the community. So I'd ask you at the end of this event, you can come up to myself, Rick obviously, and there's some other people out here in the club. And at this time, if I can ask anybody who is going to be a charter member of the Lions Club to please stand up at this time. Can you just please stand if you've agreed to be a charter member of the club? Anybody in the room? I know there's some out there. Please stand up. Go ahead, let's give them a round of applause. There we go. Thank you very much for the opportunity, and I'd love to see more of you become part of that team. Thank you and have a great night.
The artwork is overwhelming here.
The Lions Automobilia Foundation Museum is way more than a museum. It's an experience, just an amazing collection of cars that represent his passion and his youth growing up and his memories. They're not only captured in the cars and the vehicles, but the artwork, the facades, and the murals that surround them. My name is Kenny Youngblood, and I was called upon some years ago to come down and take a look at a project where they wanted to recreate Lions drag strip starting line inside a building.
The minute you come into the museum, you instantly get a sense of how passionate Rick is about the subject matter. This was something that he was around when he was a young man, and he's very passionate about the automobiles and the Lions drag strip. That was a place that he spent a lot of time at. And so every mural that we did here reflects that.
One of my favorite memories is when we did the opening of the Lions Drag Strip Museum, and when people walked into that room and I literally saw them get emotional, they got teary-eyed, because it just took them back to that time and place where they felt like they were there.
Today, when you walk into a modern museum, you'll see photography, you'll see large-scale blow-ups, you'll see a lot of graphic art, and you just don't see the time and the care anymore taken to hand doing things.
It's kind of interesting. You kind of come in and then you turn another corner and another corner, and you don't realize how large this place actually is. And then when you see the murals, they're huge.
So the event center is designed to bring people in to have events, because we want to share the experience with everybody, showcase what we have, the cars, the murals.
Pay tribute to all of Southern California Motorsports. So we're going to have a tribute to Marine Stadium, and then we have a tribute to the Dry Lakes. SoCal, we have El Mirage Dry Lake here, and off-road racing. And we're going to pay tribute to the automotive pioneers, the motorsport pioneers, the equipment manufacturers over the years that have contributed so much. I've got really a dream team down here. Vaughn, I knew her from hot rodding and drag racing, and a very talented airbrush artist.
So to be part of something like that was overwhelming, just the thought that he would think highly enough of me to ask to be part of it.
About the same time, we needed the skies painted in there, and I remembered that my friend Keith Moreland told me years ago that who was an architectural artist, and he also had done airbrush ceilings in casinos.
So Kenny was like, well, somebody's got to create all the skies in all these murals, and it was quite an honor to to get that call and be able to participate in all of this. It's a fantastic project.
We've just brought on Chris Ramsey, who is a professional art instructor, because we need all the help we can get.
It is a little bit daunting at first, but you just have to keep your nose to the grindstone.
So the sheer size of the walls that we're working on can be intimidating. We're talking 20-foot ceilings, thousands of square feet of murals.
Can we consider those the good old days? And wish we had some of that back. It's just been a joy to do this, and we're still doing it and carrying on the story.
I'll remind you, all of this started with one man with a passion. Pretty successful trucking business by the looks of this. And a great private car collection. He said, I think I could do more. I want to talk to Yvonne and Kenny. I want to know, like at Disneyland, you know, they got all the hidden Mickeys where you got to look for certain stuff. Did you guys bury some treasure, some Easter eggs in here? It'd be pretty cool to see. I mentioned this started off with one man, but it's certainly, the baton is going to be passed, and sooner rather than later. And you saw Tammy in the video there. Tammy's not only Rick's daughter, she's the heir apparent to all of this, and very, very hands-on. I mean, there's nothing about the operations here that she doesn't understand. And it's going to be a daunting task. You've already kind of heard a few of the what's next with this, and it's a lot of youth and education programs. And it's still expanding. It's still not done. Literally, this has just been completed in the last few weeks. I'd like Tammy to give you some perspective on what's going on moving forward here. Tammy Lorenzen-Fancelo, here she is. Hey, and while Tammy's coming up, I would be remiss to not point out, where's Larry Dixon Jr.? Multi-time Top Fuel World Champion. How about Daryl Gwynn? I saw Daryl back there. Flew out for Steve Gibbs' event last week. That was a lot of fun. And there's a gentleman from Southern California that won a few funny car races and has never been in this building, Mr. John Force over against the wall there. Walking with giants, Tammy.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thank you for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. And like my father has said, please come back. I do want to recognize our board members on our Lions Automobilia Foundation. We have Tom Elliott. If you could please stand when I say your name. We have Carl Olson. Dave Merrick. Mark Platt. And Rob Marchese. I'd also like to thank our executive director, Lana Chrisman. It's hard for me to see out there. And I'd also like to thank our volunteers, our docents, because without them, we can't make all of this happen as well. Thank you to all of them. I know they're all running around and stuff, but I'd like them to kind of stand and be recognized and give a round of applause too. And again, thank you. I'm looking forward to taking this into the future because I have a passion for it. I have my own truck now, so I kind of got the bug like my dad had got, so I'm getting my second one. Not yet, not yet. Still being worked on, but looking forward to taking this into the future with everybody's help. We really appreciate it, and I would like to give it back over to Jack.
We ready for a video, guys?
Thank you, everyone.
You know, in order for a place like this museum to exist, there has to be people that are giving time.
I think the general public doesn't quite know what they're in for when they come to a museum. Then we're kind of the accent piece that helps them understand a little bit more about the history of the cars and what's gone on in the museum.
We have people from all over the country, all over the world, really, that come. I mean, Some weekends are totally international.
The volunteers all come from a different backgrounds, and they have their experience that they can give to the people that come through the door, and it's just a really great experience.
All the volunteers are so welcoming. They're just really great to work with.
If this is what you love, giving something back, your time, that's, it is truly the reward for doing it.
I like the fact, look at the video of the volunteers, and the place literally doesn't run without the volunteers. Is Marvin Graham in the house? So one of the volunteers, I don't know how you pulled that off, Rick. Your 1974 U.S. Nationals Top Fuel champion, Marvin Graham. They stick him on a stool over there, and he is happy as a clam. I just think it's wonderful to see that group of people here. Hey, we're going to show another video real quick, and it's going to explain a little bit, and I'm going to have a special speaker come up and give you guys the details. It's on the SAE, or Society of Automotive Engineers, the Southern California Accelerate program, and the Hot Rodders of Tomorrow. So we'll roll video on that.
The Foundation's mission is to honor and preserve motorsports in Southern California for the next generation. So many of our programs are youth-oriented.
Lions is now working with, in partnership with a group called Accelerate. And what they're doing is Accelerate has the students to bring in for the program, and Lions has a facility in order to run an automotive type of class. They're working with entry-level technician type training, nut and bolt stuff, grassroots.
It's important for the next generation to know where we started from and appreciate the development and all the hard work and innovation that made the cars that we drive today are because of all of that innovation going back 30, 40, 50 years. Having school field trips coming in from 6th and 7th, 8th graders, hearing the stories and the history of car culture in SoCal. We're also developing workshops so we could have smaller groups come in and be able to experience working on an engine or working on a transmission with our hands and learning about the car.
Society of Automotive Engineers, that's another great thing. You still need an automotive skill set if you're going to be an automotive engineer.
It's a way to connect with a younger audience, which will be a pipeline to our great schools. And let's face it, a lot of the kids, let's say in the young teenager stage, would much rather listen to an 18 or 20-year-old talking about the race car they're designing at university than listen to me. SAE has this program called AWIM, A World in Motion, and they've got these amazing educational programs, turnkey, kind of a project in a box from SAE International that's geared specifically, developed by educational professionals for the K through 12 world.
People have a hard focus on their academics and to really hammer in what they learn in school. However, it really doesn't apply unless you apply those academics hands-on. So if that being building Legos or getting your hands on a hammer and nail, expose yourself to putting what you learned in the classroom to, say, a workshop.
You want to inspire the kids at 3rd or 4th grade that math and science are fun.
When they step in, it may seem a bit daunting because there's already been so much progress throughout the years. However, I feel like the youth really forgets that they are what's going to build the future.
In the video, you had an opportunity to listen to Dean Case, and Dean is with the Society of Automotive Engineers, Southern California. I like to prepare before I come up. I've done so many interviews where you go somewhere and people went on Wikipedia and read about you. And then you're on live TV and they start saying stuff that just never happened. I'm like, it'd be cool if my life was that good. But I'm not stalking you, Dean, but I looked you up. I Googled you, and I hope you appreciate that. And the things that Dean's done in the automotive industry, it's the stuff that legends are made of. And the fact that he's coming out here and is spending his time. And I hope you guys are starting to get the impression that this building is more than just a place that houses cars. It houses futures. There's a lot of things that are going to take place here in the coming years that's going to perpetuate not just our legacy and history, but it's going to be the next generation. So I'm going to let Mr. Dean Case take it from here and explain to you guys what we're doing.
Thank you. Most of you are probably aware that the largest concentration of automotive engineers in the country is in Detroit, which you might be surprised, second largest is here in Southern California. Because SAE is not just ground transportation, it's aerospace. So we've got members at Boeing and Lockheed and places like that, as well as in motorsports. You know, Dan Gurney was an SAE member for 35 years, so that adds to our credibility. We also have, just locally, 17 student groups building race cars for Formula SA and Baja SAE competition. And so they're really the rock stars for the K through 12 world. In SAE, we had no footprint in K through 12. So when we found out about what Rick and everyone here is doing at the museums, like, we're just happy to be a part of the team. So we brought some educational materials, but more importantly, we've got all these enthusiastic students like Kenny from Cal State Long Beach, and we're going to get more of those students involved. And they actually, SAE has a program called Learn Twice, where the students at the university level can earn money for their race car by coming here to Lions and mentoring the K through 12 world. So, you know, just like a race team, you need to bring in outside specialists, and we're just happy to partner with everyone here at Lions and Accelerate and the Hot Rod Group. So if you're ever cynical, like there's not enough young kids involved, want to be involved in the racing and sport, there are. And we're working to help build that, and this is the perfect venue for that. So we're just pleased to be a part of it, honored to be a part of this. And on a personal level, my dad used to race drag boats at Marine Stadium, and my big brother took me to Lions. So this is really personal for me too. It's like, it's just such a great community resource, and we're happy to be here. Thank you.
It's all about networking. To have that sort of support, to have the outlet to be the nucleus of that, there's a lot of stuff to digest. You guys came here to see some famous people get awards tonight, but I think you're getting a bigger picture of what Rick and Tammy want to accomplish in this building, and the staff here. If you want to be a part of it, reach out to Lana next week. Call, go on the website. There's a lot of great programs that we can all participate and maybe dip your toe and see if it's something that you might want to do. We're going to take a dinner break. I want to remind everybody there's a silent auction. So if you want to get up, walk outside the hallway, there's a lot of awesome stuff there. And all that money is going to go to help further these programs here. Enjoy your dinner. I'd like to call Rick and Tammy Lorenzen back up on stage right now. And I would be remiss. We got some cam grinders in the house. I had talked about one a few minutes ago. He'll be coming up here. But Clay Smith cams, George Striegel, 85 years old today. 85, that only makes him 17 years younger than another cam grinder. Happy birthday, George. And 2023 Lions Automobilia, our first inductee into the Hall of Fame. Let's roll video.
I've been called Bonesaw since I was in high school, so I've street raced for a while, you know, when I was young, and a lot of tickets and things, and yeah, I just got hooked. And then go home and do some more work on it, and come back the next day. And one of my friends was Doug Cook, and it was a fast car. He had an Oldsmobile in there, and I was driving now for Big John Masmanian with a Chevrolet motor in there. And John told me, he says, let's go, Bonesy, them dragsters got Chryslers in them, why don't we put a Chrysler motor in it? He said, well, I says, I can build them, but okay, I did. Put a Chrysler motor in there, and that was the end of it. We went out there, and it was touch and go, and I was racing Doug Cook at the Winter Nationals, and he gave me a little hole shot. He won that race, but I came flying by at the other end, and it was the first time in for NHRA in that class for a car to run in the 9-second bracket at 150. I don't know, I just like motors, and even when I had a bicycle, I put a Whizzer motor in, and I couldn't even have that stock. I had to fool around with it. I can't believe it, but you know, I've been inducted into the NHRA Hall of Fame. It blows my mind away because I'm there with some of the other ones that I looked up to for years, you know, and here I'm in it too, so.
Robert Balogh, we'll call him Bones. Did you guys hear the humility when he speaks? Like, gosh, I don't deserve this. I hate to break it to you, Bones. You deserve this. And I had the honor, was it 2020? You were inducted in the International Drag Racing Hall of Fame before the world went to crap? Yeah. And he called and he said, would you do my induction? Yeah, I'll do your induction. Just an absolute honor. My dad came out from Maryland, moved to Southern California. Thanksgiving will be 61 years exactly. And he went and interviewed at a lot of the speed equipment shops. And one of them was Iskandarian Racing Cams. And Ed introduced him to a very young dyno operator who was trying a new camshaft in a small block Chevy at the time. And when I told my father a few years ago who I was inducting in, that's when the story came up. And 58 years later, he still remembered the personality and how nice that Bones was to him. And to have that combination of driving skills, humility, hope I don't make you cry, Bones. The niceness factor. He spent 8 years pulling the dyno handle at Iski's, and he got an offer for Vaughn Pistons to go over there. Iski's finally talking to him again tonight, but it didn't last long for Bones. 52 years at Vaughn. And they finally closed the shop to get him to quit his job. I have got the honor for the second time of inducting my friend, Robert Bones Balogh, into the Lions Hall of Fame. And little extra treat, guys, and I don't know how this is going to go. Anybody like to hear Ed Iskandarian come up and say a few words? I love the fact that Richard's collecting Social Security, his son, and taking his dad up on stage here. 102 years young. I had the honor, and Bones, is it okay if Ed goes first? Okay. I had the honor of emceeing Ed's 100th birthday up in the desert. And we put a fire jacket on him, shoved him in the Hampshire and Waterman top fuel car. Was fairly certain we were going to kill him. I did not realize Ed was claustrophobic. I was fully aware it was 106 degrees outside, no joke, and that 100-year-old man cackled that car.
What'd they do?
You cackled the Waterman and Hampshire dragster. Yep. We're working on the new hearing aids right at 102, and what this man has seen and done, an absolute legend in motorsports. Ed, do you have a few words you'd like to say to the fans here?
Yeah, I'd like to tell them how I lucked out with this man here. Well, he used to come, Bones used to come in once a week and see if there's anything new in cams and stuff, or something to make the cars go faster, because he raced at Lion every week. So one day, the dyno was running in the back with Joe Mallard was running it, and it sounded like Lion's drag strip with a roaring motor back there. So Bones goes around the building to the back, and the fence was locked, and he waited until the motor shut off on the dyno. The dyno shut off, and and then he could be heard. He hollered through the back gate, "Hey, does that man get paid for doing that, running that dyno?" I would do that free. And when I heard that, I said, man, I like your attitude. Come on in here. This Ballard is leaving us. He's going to work at IBM as a teacher of something, and he'll be leaving us pretty soon. So now you work with him, and you're going to be the dyno man, because you build your own engines and already winning races at Lions Drag Strip. So, greatest thing. So what a blessing it was, because I said, you do it. Well, he says, what do we do here? I said, you do anything you want. Try anything you want. You might have some ideas we need. And he did come up with the good ideas. And he even, by golly, Hilborn's fuel injection wasn't, one day he says, a lot of our guys are using Hilborn fuel injection, so don't you think we ought to buy one? I said, sure, go ahead, order from through Hilborn. And it didn't make as much power as the carburetors. And it made a lot of black smoke. And it seems like it was rich. But he says, no, I know it's lean, because when I close the bypass, it has a little more power. And he said, and so he asked Hilborn about what is the nozzle size. Oh, I didn't know there were different sizes. And so you got 6As. Well, what's bigger? A 7A. But you can't use that. You got a small Chevy engine. Well, Isky will pay for them, sent them, and by God, that made the big difference. Hilborn even learned something from this dyno man.
102 years young. George, 17 years from now, we'll let you come up and take a speech. Ed Iskandarian, ladies and gentlemen. And now for the man of the hour. Bones, take it away. I don't know how you're going to top that.
I think Ed said it all, but this is a real honor, and thanks to Rick Lorenzen, this beautiful place. Lions was my home track I raced there for 15 years. It was open for 17 years, but I made my last run in 1970. But this is something that I'll never forget. The first day it opened, I was there. It was in 1955. I had an old 37 Chevy with a GMC motor, and I went out there to race. And I won. That was my first trophy in my 60 years of drag racing. And Lions, I love it. I think every time I would run my car, it would always go a little bit quicker at Lions. I don't know why. It might have been the good air, but I don't want to be up here too long. I just want to thank everybody that puts this off, and it's a real honor. And thank you, Rick. This is a beautiful place, and keep it going. Keep it going.
Too bad Bones doesn't have any fans here tonight. You want to go get your plaque?
Huh?
You want to go grab your plaque? You make a hard left turn, gentleman and his... Yes, sir. You're not going to get a new car. You get a nice trophy. Bones Balogh. When we're done with all the 8 inductees, we're going to have all of them come back up, and we'll have individual and group photos at that time. Our next inductee, a gentleman named Gary Gabelich, and what's really cool looking around in here, started out as a private car collection. The Lions drag strip was extended to it. Long Beach Marine Stadium. There is a man with class. The Dry Lakes, it's everything about motorsports. It's expanding to Hollywood. But I look over here and I see Gary Gabelich's name on a boat. And for the hardcore drag racers, you'd say, I didn't know he did that. Let's watch Gary's video.
My name is Ray Gabelich, and I am proud to have been married to the Rocket Man, to Gary Gabelich. Gary was the land speed record holder. He broke the record with the Blue Flame rocket car in 1970 at the Bonneville Salt Flats. You know, he loved working on cars, but this particular night, and I really don't know what the lead up to it was at Lions, except that he was infatuated with it. And so he borrowed his father's Plymouth. And he took it and he raced it and he won. And he was so proud of himself for having won first place. He took home the trophy and his father took off his belt. But that didn't stop him. He continued and he became a star at Lions, and then of course ventured off into anything he could race.
You know, started off being a driver for hire, you know, for my dad's car. But with Gary, he had an infectious personality. So he became family real quick.
Gary was always involved in driving something or doing really unbelievable stuff. He was quite the original daredevil. He just fit the mold that they liked to have for the car. He was up and coming, a good driver, so they decided to put him in and see how he would fare in the top fuel ranks.
Takes a lot of guts, a lot of talent, and Gary definitely rose to the occasion.
You know, you knew Gary was going to be very special because he was very, very charismatic.
My brother lost the top of his thumb at Lions one night, pushing the car back at the starting line. And Gary jumped out of the car and found the top of his thumb underneath the car, put it in a bag of ice and gave it to the paramedics, and they sewed my brother's thumb back in 1965. So my brother told him, "You deserve a feather in your cap for that." So the next race, he stuck the feather in the helmet and it just stuck.
You know, I'm just grateful that people actually are still interested. You know, if we let go of our history, it doesn't matter what part of history it is, then it's pretty much gone forever. And we don't want to lose that. You know, this period of time was an energy that we probably won't ever see repeated.
Jim, I'm checking my stats. I don't see anything about a severed thumb anywhere on the show notes here. Great story, though. I told you I'd reached out to Brett Kepner for facts on drag strips. Bob Fry's another one of my phone friends, and I said, hey, give me some info. Here's the inductees. What do you got that's kind of cool stuff? And when Ray, Gary's wife, was saying that he was a star at Lions, that's not hyperbole. Fry sent me these stats. I'm like, I don't have a half hour to get up here and talk about what the man did at Lions and how many different cars that he drove. We lost Gary in 1984 to a motorcycle wreck of all things. Here's a man that went 620 miles an hour and lived to tell the story. He drove things like this, won the 68, American Powerboating Championship on the water, did testing for the Apollo space program. There's a book in there somewhere. And accepting for one of the most colorful and accomplished stories in all of motorsports, accepting for Gary Gabelich, his wife Ray.
Good evening, everybody. Oh, that was really fun. First, I want to thank Rick and Tammy Lorenzen and your entire team for this very special honor. Gary was inducted into the Motorsports Hall of Fame in Daytona in 2016, and I thought that was the end of it. But here we are. He was recognized for all of his racing adventures. Here we are today in his own backyard, and he's being honored again. Gary drove for many of you out there during his career. You knew him way before I did. He set the firsts in several different modalities of racing. As was mentioned just a minute ago, in 1956, at 16 years old, he borrowed his dad's car, and he went to Lions, and he took first place, and he was very excited, and his dad pulled his belt. Well, but he had the bug. It was too late. In 1959, at 19 years old, he won the first side-by-side dragster race at over 250 miles an hour. And that same year, he set the drag boat record at 200.44 miles per hour. In 1967, Gary was the first person to break drag racing's second bracket, driving a double-A dragster at 7.05 seconds. In 1969, he manned the Beach City Chevrolet at Irwindale, and there is a model of it in the back. After the car burned to the ground, Gary brought home the frame, and it still rests in our garden today. That was also the year that Gary was the first man to surpass 200 miles an hour in a quarter-mile drag boat. For years, Gary raced boats here at Marine Stadium and any other water venue he could find. He loved off-road, motorcycles, cars, boats, anything that would move fast. But Gary's most recognized claim to fame was on October 23rd, 1970. He set the land speed record in the car called the Blue Flame. He did that with reaction dynamics, and it took them 5.5 weeks at Bonneville. His new land speed record was 622.407. In 5.5 weeks, they made 16 runs over 500 and 6 runs over 600. His top speed was 660 miles an hour, and his two-way average was 622.407. He held that record longer than any other American for 13 years. The Blue Flame was a 39-foot rocket car. It had 58,000 horsepower, 22,000 pounds of thrust, and traveled 0 to 640 in 22 seconds. I just want to say I loved the man. I loved being married to him, and I love still supporting him to this day. And I'm honored to be here and be among so many people that I knew you by your name. I knew the history and the relationships that he had. And so thank you, Rick. Thank you, Tammy. And thank you to all of you. God bless.
On behalf of Gary Gabelich, Ray Gabelich. 58,000 horsepower. We're going to have to tame that down a little bit for the next one. Any Keith Black fans in the house? As a kid growing up in Southern California and just enamored of the fuel scene, I thought it was the coolest thing that Keith Black made fuel Hemis. Ed Pink made fuel Hemis. Like, God couldn't have made that any cooler. And tonight they're both going to get inducted into the same Hall of Fame. We're going to start out with Keith Black. Can we roll video on him?
My name's Ken Black, and I'm Keith Black's son. His real name was not Keith Black. It was Robert Keith Black. He preferred to Keith over Bob, so he changed it and went by Keith Black his entire life. He wanted that. And one day when he was a younger kid, his parents went off to church. During that time, he pulled the motor out of their car that was sitting there and tore it apart and put it all over the driveway. It needed to be rebuilt. Well, his parents came home and saw all the parts on there, and they weren't too pleased, but he put it all back together and no issues, no problems, replaced parts and stuff, but he had problems with the cam timing. From that time, then he kind of dedicated himself to figuring out, I didn't know that, let's do this. And so he always gave credit to people like, Clay Smith and stuff as far as the camshafts go. He knew stuff that he didn't know, and he knew stuff that they needed information and stuff about. But he pretty much everybody equal, but the ones that really were the click that made it happen were the relationship that he had developed, like Don Prudhomme, Roland Leong, and Mike Snively also, driver in that, through the actual cars that they ran, actually helped build the company and Dad's reputation. And he was first, and he told me more than one time, he says, don't think you can do it alone, you can't. He said, you need other people to help, and no one knows it all. Oh, I wish he was here. He would be, humbled for sure. He wasn't a very boastful person at all. But yeah, it would be a big honor. He would, accept it, probably thinking that he didn't deserve it really, but I think he did.
You said, I think he did. I think it's unanimous. We all think he deserves to be here. Keith Black didn't invent the first aluminum aftermarket Hemi block. Donovan did. Keith improved upon it and went out and dominated. Keith didn't invent the first slipper clutch, but he really dove into it and figured it out. And he improved upon it. And he dominated. Another gentleman that's going to come up and speak in a few minutes, maybe you've heard of him, Don Perdome. I think it's a fair statement to say I think Don was destined to be a superstar. But I think Keith Black hastened that. I think Roland Leong would tell you that Keith Black helped put him on the map. I think the fact that another of the inductees this evening, Jim Dunn, runs a fuel team out of those 5 stalls over at Keith Black Racing Engines is just such a throwback to the way things used to be. Our inductee, Keith Black, or Bob Black, is going to be inducted by his son, Ken Black. Come on up, Ken.
Okay, where to start? The main thing, and you heard it on the video, was, and my dad told me more than once, you can't do it by yourself. And all the accolades about, you know, how Dad helped all these other people, he told me you can have the best engine in the world. If you don't have the best driver or the money behind it, you aren't going to get anywhere with it. And so he gave a lot of credit to people that he came across in his life. And the biggest one that started probably the whole thing on his career was when he was starting in our garage in Linwood. He partnered up with Bobby Sykes, who used to work for Clay Smith. And there actually was a company they started was Black and Sykes engines. And that's where it all evolved. And so Bobby he was a tremendous boat race driver and engine builder also. And that really got Dad on the track to doing that. So again, you can't do it by yourself and be successful at it. So even though these other people were there, if you don't have a good driver, you're not going to do it. Don Perdome, Mike Snively, all these guys could tell Dad how the car was running and what he had to do to make it run even better. If you don't have that, you're not going to go anywhere. And that was the main point I was trying to make before. But as growing up, it was a little bit intimidating, the fact of how successful he was, but I still never stopped being proud of all the accomplishments that he did. And there were a few moments back in the early days when we were going to the boat races, and I've told this story once before, but it was way past dark. The boats had stopped running for a long time, and my sister and I are sitting in the station wagon with my mom waiting. And Mom's words were, "Where is your father?" Well, he's out helping the rest of the racers, talking about all their combinations, but that's how he was. He dove into it, and he went, full on for it. But he would definitely be honored to accept this. I'm sure he would prefer to be here talking with all these other racers and stuff that were here that he's came to know through the years. But it's a great honor to accept this in place of him. And appreciate all the accolades and good words that were said for him. Thank you very much.
On behalf of Ken Black, Keith Black is our next inductee. Classy man, big horsepower. Our next inductee, maybe more than any single racer, this man represented Lions, from driving his mother's 1955 Chevy there to winning the last funny car pass down the drag strip at Lions. Show of hands, does anybody know what day that was? You didn't show your hands, Linda. Linda said December 2nd. Can you give me a year? You know what, Linda? You weren't even there, for Christ's sake. You were getting married down the street. Linda says December 2nd, 1972. Does everybody agree? It's December 3rd. It's after midnight. Carl Olson was there, guys. It was after midnight. It closed December 3rd. Tom the Mongoose McEwen, and there, look, Prudhomme's still pissed about that. That man wanted to win every single time he went to the starting line. And when that final round fired up, he wanted that trophy. I don't know if they knew back in 72 that it was going to be as big of a deal as it is today. Only one person got to do it. Carl Olson did it in Top Fuel. Tom McEwen did it in Funny Car. Let's roll video on the Goose.
My name is Don Prudhomme. They call me the Snake. Tom McEwen was a dear friend of mine, and we met at Lions Drag Strip, and that's the first time I met him, and we were just instant friends after that. And he was really the leader of our group. You know, it was all up to the Mongoose and McEwen back then, before he was the Mongoose. And once he became Mongoose, then we couldn't handle him after that. He was wide open. Tom had the idea of going to a Mattel Toy Company because drag racing was getting expensive to do. You know, we'd work during the week and spend our money on the cars, and that was about it. And he had the idea of going to Mattel and talking to them about a sponsorship using our two animals, the snake and the mongoose. And Mattel loved it. They jumped right on board, and then from then on, and even now I still do business with Mattel, with Hot Wheels. You know, it was the thing to do, and it really changed the sport a lot. It brought more sponsors in, and it was, in my opinion, it was the biggest thing that really happened to the sport, especially back in the 70s like that. Glad to see the Lions Drag Strip, the museum here doing this. Certainly the people that are in it, like the Mongoose and all that, are well deserved. I think they really enjoy being a part of all this.
Maybe Prudhomme could tell you what went wrong with his car in the final. Goose ran a 6:39, which was a pretty stout pass on that night. He didn't walk into that victory. Where's Donnie Couch? Donnie Couch, stand up for a second, Donnie. Donnie was 13 years old on that night and a crew member on Tom McEwen's car for winning that race. To accept on behalf of his friend, one of the greatest legends in the history of drag racing, Don the Snake Prudhomme. I have to leave the stage now. I'm shaking.
Oh, you want me to? She says you talk first. So this is Katie. This is Mongoose's daughter. You want to say hi, these folks?
Good evening, everybody. It's such an honor and a thrill to be here to honor my father for his legacy, and it's totally cool to be among all you rock stars of racing. So thank you so much for coming. And I just want to say thank you to Mr. Lawrence and to Tammy Lawrence, and also to Jack Beckman, and to the Foundation and Lions, and to Price Transfer also. And of course, Don Prudhomme, without whom we would not have the snake and the mongoose. So on behalf of my family, thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Good job. No, you can hang out. Hang out if you want. Yeah, so I just met Katie not too many years ago, but Mongoose, he always had a surprise or two, you know. And anyhow, that was supposed to be a joke, but it wasn't.
I got it, Don.
Yeah, I
got it.
I figured you would, Jack.
Yeah.
No, but the Goose was the best, and I just looking at this Lions tower over here, it was amazing, because that's where I first met Tom. I was driving a little push truck for Tommy Ivo, and I was about 19 years old, and McEwen wanted to ride in this little hot rod with me to push Tommy's dragster, and I told him, sorry kid, I can't let you unless Ivo gives you the okay. And McEwen was always pissed at me about that I wouldn't let him ride with me, but No, it's well deserved for Tom. I'll tell you, he's an amazing guy. He didn't take racing quite as serious as I did, but I'll tell you one thing: he had a hell of a lot more fun than I did, because well, what can I say? You know.
Well, his daughter's next to you that we didn't know
Yeah,
about, so apparently he had a hell of a lot more fun than you did.
Yeah, but thank you very much. It's an honor to be up here and be speaking for the Mongoose. I just wish he was here, but you know, hell, time marches on. Thank you very much.
Don Perdome and the next inductee, Tom, the Mongoose McEwen. If somebody is a stat hound, find out how many different race cars Tom McEwen drove down Lyons. I'll bet you that's a staggering number. More than Roland Leong's had drivers. We're going to do the next induction a little bit out of sequence here. I'll explain in a second. Let's go ahead and roll video.
My name is Mike Cook. My dad was Doug Cookie Cook of the Stonewoods and Cook. Doug's home track on everything was Lyons Drag Strip. Pappy C.J. Hart, he took care of my dad very well. He got involved, he had a 1937 Chevy, him and my Uncle Joe. And that's what they street raced with. All there was innovators back then. You didn't have manufacturers doing stuff. Matter of fact, what, you know, Big John and Junior and Dougie and all them guys did was, you know, took stuff and innovated it, you might say. And my dad was one of the good ones for that because, like I said, he started out with the Willys, with a 2-port Hillborn, blown Chevrolet and a 41 Willys. Well, look what the A-Gas Supercharged was, almost all Willis's. The legacy's pretty hard because he was just Doug Cook. You know, and we felt, my guys and I felt, that Doug could work on everything with us, but we could he made us work on it as well. And we felt as long as he come over and touched it, it was okay. And then before the car ran, every time, I don't care what car I drove, he always kissed his thumb and then put it on the nose of the car and walked away. He was the last one to touch it. You know, Doug, he's pretty smart, you know, because he drove it, maintained it, built it, and we never really looked at it that way. So honoring that would be probably a legacy to us, and it was kind of overran by Doug Cook. You know what I mean? He just was, you'd tell him something like that, and oh, darn, you know? He was one of those type of guys.
Doug Cook, Cookie, drove a lot of badass cars. Drove one of them, Candy Apple Blue, voted as the #1 drag race vehicle in the history of the sport. I just want you to know, Perdome, I voted for the Army car. Just want you to know that. That's what Doug Cook was to drag racing. Excepting for his grandfather, Mike Cook Jr.
I'm going to keep this kind of short and sweet for you guys. He would have loved this place. Like my dad said, he was very humble. He didn't like being talked about. He didn't like being honored. This was more of my dad's realm here. He loved doing this. He loved everyone in this room. He loved coming here, and he loved celebrating his dad, as we all did. I'd like to thank Rick for putting this place together. This is amazing, keeping it alive for the next generations, like my kids. Come on, see all this? Thank you.
Mike. We did this one a little out of order. If you guys had looked in the back of the room, there's a land speed car there that says Mike Cook on it. Mike's father, Doug's son. We lost Mike into last month. Was not expected. He was to be the one up here giving the speech. And Mike Cook was an absolute legend on land speed cars. Everything his dad was on asphalt in short duration quarter-mile racing, Mike Cook was in the other realms. And he is going to be sorely missed. And kudos to Mike Jr. for getting through that for his dad and for his grandpa. I'd like to give some extra tidbits on his grandfather here. Doug passed away in 1999. He was one of the original members of the racers at Santa Ana Drags, where John Wayne Airport sits today. C.J. Hart ran that track from 1950 to 1959. It really put Southern California drag racing on the map. We could argue for hours about where the first track was. Santa Ana was Santa Ana, though. Doug ran his 37 Coupe. He won the 59 Nationals. Before the NHRA race even moved to its current position in Indy, he had already become a Nationals champion in that 37 Coupe. And gosh, I keep wanting to talk about Mike in current tense. The car looks gorgeous now. It's restored. It's a street car, and that's the car that Doug won the 59 Nationals, won class in it. He partnered with a couple gentlemen named Fred Stone, Tim Woods, and the Stone, Woods, and Cook legacy was born. And what they did in those few short years that Doug drove for them was just legendary. The fact that we talk about it 60 years later, they won in 63 at the Nationals. They were the first A-gas supercharged car to run in the nines. They added another Nationals title in 1965. They decided they wanted to go fuel racing. Apparently they really hated their money and their parts, and they built a funny car. Had some moderate success, ran off the end of the track. Doug was hurt really bad in that car. Kind of effectively ended his drag racing career, but his legacy goes on, and it's not just Doug. Doug is now in the Lions Automobilia Drag Race Hall of Fame, but Mike Cook was a really special person to a bunch of us out here and will be sorely missed. Ray Gabelich had mentioned 58,000 horsepower. I think completely screwed us up for numbers the rest of the day. Talked about Keith Black. You know, a modern fuel car makes, I don't know, 11,000. That's probably a conservative estimate. And you get people that go, that's not right. Nothing can make that kind of power. I'm like, fine, whatever it makes. Come watch one of them. Watch how fast it accelerates, and you tell me how much power you think it is. It's way more than any person has a right to make in a pushrod internal combustion engine. Keith Black did a good job on that. Ed Pink did a good job on that. God, good is not the right word for either of those gentlemen. If it was Pink's, it was perfect. And that's a hard deal to do in the multiple categories that man was competitive in. Let's roll video for Ed Pink.
It's a great culmination of a person's career. You know, when I first started in this business, I didn't have the idea that I was going to get into a Hall of Fame or get recognized for anything. I got into it because I loved engines, and I just proceeded on with it. You know, when drag racing started, guys were running Chevrolets and Oldsmobiles and that sort of thing, and then the 392 Chrysler came along, and basically the engines that we were running to start with were passenger car engines. Every engine guy that builds engines has his own particular way of doing things. My particular way is you gotta have the part last. It's gotta live before it can run fast. Because it doesn't do any good if you got the most powerful engine out there and it doesn't finish a race because it breaks all the time. So I spent my time making the engine reliable. And then once I got it reliable, then I started going after them. I've been very fortunate in my career that I've got to do engines for a lot of the right people. We did engines for drag racing. We did engines for El Mirage Dry Lake, for Bonneville, Indy cars. We did midgets. We did sports cars runs at Daytona 24 hours. I learned a lot, made a lot of great friends. I have no regrets.
Not a one-trick pony. He talked about the 392 Chrysler. Before that, it was the 354. After that, it was the 426. And in '67, Ford wanted to make a program with their single overhead cam 427. Ed said, I think I can make that work. He made it work, made it competitive. Didn't work out because the development on the Chrysler was way ahead of it and the maintenance was far simpler, but Ed made a competitive engine out of it. He was approached on the Porsche 962 program. He says, I think I can make that work. And tinkered around with it to the point that his power plant outperformed the Porsche factory team power plant. Ed Pink, Germany. He was that good. He was approached to run a program for Indy V8 engines. He made that work. He had a USAC sprint car program. He made that work. I forget the legend of a lot of these people, but I remember Ed had a shop. I think they just got rid of that shop. Over on Raymer Drive in Van Nuys, there used to be a Fedco there. I remember we'd go shopping once a week, and I would always ask my dad, can we stop in there? Because I'd see Perdome's rig there sometimes. I'd see Pat Foster's. It was just, as a little kid that loved the sport, that was something of legend. That stuck in my head, and I never forgot it. Fast forward, 2 years ago, we were at the Peterson Museum for a second celebration for Ed Iskandarian's 100th birthday. And one of the panelists to speak was Ed Pink. Ed, can you hear me? Are you 92? Ed's 92. I got a real kick out of the point that his tribute to Iski was Ed saying, when I was a teenager, I used to pedal my bike over and watch this guy grind camshafts. To tell you guys the legend of Ed Pink, this is prestigious to be in here. But the Hall of Fame of America, they only pick a certain amount of people from each discipline. From motorcycles to road race cars to Can-Am, there are not a lot of people that are drag racers in there. But Ed Pink's been successful everywhere his fingerprint's been. And I believe it's been, I think 2012, he was inducted into that Hall of Fame. So Ed, welcome back again for another Hall of Fame. Ed Pink.
Thank you, Jack. Those are really some powerful words, I'll tell you. I hope I can live up to those. You know, this is really, this is a great evening. A lot of my friends are here. A lot of new friends are here. And the job that Rick has done is just absolutely mind-boggling. And I'm so pleased to be here. And it's a great tribute, and you know, I'm thinking back about it. When Lions first opened up, the first day they were opened, I was there. The day they closed, I was there. And it was just the Lions, like they've talked about here tonight, that it's one of a kind. And it was a great drag strip. It was just great friends. A lot of great things happened. I remember I was fortunate enough with my own dragster to win some races, and then later on when I was in business and we were doing engines for other people, I remember there were a couple of instances that I remember was when they had the PDA championships there. I remember Lou Baney's dragster with a 427 Ford Cam engine in it, with Don Perdome driving, won that race. And then I also remember one that sticks out in my memory was that when Mickey Thompson had the 200-mile-an-hour race, he had one at Fontana, and the last one, the second one, was at Long Beach. And to be able to run in that race, your car had to run 200 miles an hour or better. And there were a lot of cars that did run 200 miles an hour, but there were a lot that didn't. So the way you could get in that race, if your car ran 200 or better, you were in the race. And when the race was over, a fellow by the name of Don Johnson with his Beachcomber dragster with one of our 392s won the race with Bob Morabas driving. And those are some of the memories that I have from Long Beach. And this culminates it. This is the party of parties as far as I'm concerned. And I really thank you guys very much for putting me in the Hall of Fame here. It's a great honor, and it's much appreciated. And thank you very much.
Put your crop over here. Go get your crop. The old master. 92 years old. Talking about a place that hasn't been open for 51 years, and it's all locked in there, the memories. I know Morabas is in the house. Where are you, Bob? Got a third of the cut in Beachcomber's car, didn't you? I think he still owes you money, huh? Bob Morabas. I was asked by a reporter 10 years ago, and I knew what they meant. Larry, you'll identify with this. They said, what's your greatest accomplishment in racing? And I know they wanted to say, well, we set this record, or we beat this person, or we won this race. And I said, I'm going to tell you easily, and my answer hasn't changed over the years, my greatest accomplishment in racing. I've loved the sport since I was 7 years old, since the first time I went to Orange County, and they push-started top fuel cars, and funny cars were larger than life, and you can get right up to the drivers, and Don Perdome was 9'6". He's only 8'2" now, but he's still larger than life. And my greatest accomplishment is that I can walk into a room and have a conversation with these people that were the absolute legends and icons when I was a little kid, and I still have those pinch me moments. And to see Ed Pink come up here and to listen to Ed Iskandarian talk up here, and all the things, we are literally walking amongst giants tonight, folks. Speaking of which, Big Jim Dunn. Let's do the video first, because I got some stuff to say about this guy.
My name's Jim Dunn. I'm 89 years old. I started drag racing in 1949. I won my first trophy and set my first record at 090 in the First Street Coupe in Santa Ana. And that's how I started my career, and I've been racing ever since. I never raced against drivers. I always raced against the tree. I tried to beat the tree. When the tree beat me, I usually got beat. I won probably 80% of my races on hole shots. I was one of the better leavers. But it was strictly every time I qualified or anything, I was racing. That's how you get good. I go up there fight ready. I thought, well, I wasn't a good loser. People get out and shake hands and say, good run. And, well, that's a bunch of BS. There's no such things. We're there to kick your butt. That's the only reason we're there. Used to, we'd go and it'd be nothing. You blow your motor up and you won the round, and I've got beat. Pull the motor out of my car and put it in yours for the next round. Nobody thought anything about it, but the first day I have fun, I quit because I'm not trying hard enough. But it's enjoyable. Fun is a lot of work, a lot of stress, and a lot of enjoyment.
We're going to be wrapping up the silent auction in about 10 minutes. So if you guys want, you've got an opportunity to go back out there and put your last bid in. And somebody asked me, hey, if Jim needs help up on stage, can you help him out? I said, he's 89 and I'm still afraid of him. Jim can do whatever the hell he wants to do. I'll walk the microphone over. I love going over to Jim Dunn's trailer and just getting lost for an hour. And he'd break out the photo album. 1949 VW, when hardly anybody had ever seen one. This was in the 50s. He bought one, put a nitro engine in it. He had a career as a fireman. He had a career as a drag race driver. He has a career as a car owner and a crew chief. Like, I watched some of the stuff that John Force has done. He was testing Ashley's car one day, and he does a burnout, and he yanks the steering wheel back and forth. And I'm talking to Gary Selzy. I'm like, do you have the balls to do that on a burnout? He's like, hell no. Something's wrong with John. Jim Dunn is staging his funny car for a race, and his harnesses came unbuckled. And later on, he tells the story. Tim Krauser, where's Weed? Where are you, Weed? You want to talk about a man that spent a lot of time on the starting line and staging lanes of Lions and has got some great Jim Dunn stories. But Dunn says later, well, I looked down and I thought, hell, I'll leave the starting line. If they're ahead at half track, I'll lift. They weren't. He didn't. He won the race. That takes some serious huevos. Jim had said before, we've become really good friends. The way he tells stories, and I appreciate that era so much, and I appreciate that generation so much. And he said, hey, one of my bigger regrets, because before I went to drive for Schumacher, I had an opportunity to drive for Jim Dunn. And he said, I should have hired you. Jim, it's never too late, buddy. That's all I'm going to say. The eyesight's starting to go. I can't hear crap anymore, but I got a couple more good years. Hell, Force is 74. If that's the benchmark, you got 17 more years left with me. Ladies and gentlemen, a man that made a side job for himself while he put fires out during the week, going out there and kicking butt on Southern California tracks, then one day decided to start touring around. And what a name he made for himself. Big Jim Dunn. We're gonna, he's paid up his medical insurance, and Jim's okay buying green bananas, so we're good to go. I'm not sure how many more burnouts he's gonna do this for, but you watch Jim, the car starts, he walks out there, and he's got to be the one giving him the signal. And his son, John, I'm like, John, some point, let's just let him wheel his way out there.
Will you shut up and let me talk?
I thought I was stalling.
I'd like to make some thanks to some special people. CJ and Moon sponsored me for 35 years, and they put my fireman's quickie on their car for this tomorrow. One of the good things about it, I get to start it, not just sitting in the grandstands and run it. And at this other table full of firemen from LA County that I worked with 30 years. And the other table was a teenage kid that used to come over and watch us work on the funny car named John Force. But it's been fun. Getting old sucks. Only way you can become a legend is get old. And I still enjoy drag racing. We beat Caps last a couple weeks ago, and I tried to jump, but I couldn't get off the ground. But it still had the same excitement as winning a race 30 years ago. So I still enjoyed it. I've been blessed and been happy. As a fireman for 30 years, I enjoyed that, but I enjoy drag racing more. And it's just been good. I thank all you people for liking me and letting me race. I got my first money from Long Beach Pappy Hart with the Alder, Dunn, and Velasco, and Velasco's sitting in my table right now. He gave us $50 to run our Alder. And we were just starting, so people would clap for us, and about 5 wins, they start booing. I told Pappy, I says, I guess you're not going to hire me anymore. He says, why? I said, well, they're not clapping anymore. Just have them make noise. And at Long Beach, you'd push down the track to start it because we didn't have starters. So as soon as it starts, you'd wave your hand at the pickup behind you to go. So that time, I waved my hand, but I kept the one finger up all the way down, and boy, did I got a lot of boos. You know, Pappy said, "You're learning, Dunn." That's enough of my time. But one other thing, my favorite drag racer is named Linda Vaughn. She probably doesn't remember when I was introduced to her the first time. I think it was it was at Riverside Raceway, I think the Hot Rod Magazine meet, and she was just the first time for Trophy Girl, and she came out of the tower and her steps down, she's coming down, and some drunk came out of the grandstands, pushed the security guys away, and came running up the stairs after her, screaming something like, if I catch you, I'm going to keep you. And she turned around and screamed, running up the steps. And Bernie Partridge came out and introduced me by saying, "Dunn, leave her alone." I said, and I just said, "No, I'm just having fun." And I'm still having fun. Thank you for your time.
Ladies and gentlemen, Big Jim Dunn.
All right.
The lovely young lady standing behind him, Jonna Dunn. How'd you like to be standing behind your grandpa where he's talking about trying to pick up Linda Vaughn 50 years ago? Walking amongst giants tonight, we truly are. Rick, Tammy, thank you guys for everything that you're doing with this facility. Our last inductee. Is a restraining order lifted on Dunn? Are you allowed within 25 feet of him? I don't want to get us in trouble with the local law enforcement. You met him in '66 for your 10th birthday. I got some things to say about you. Let's roll tape on Linda Vaughn.
Hi, y'all. I'm Linda Vaughn. I'm from Dalton, Georgia. Grew up in the South, but the South brought me to the West. I started with Hearst in 1966, and I decided that my first trip to the Long Beach race, I'm talking about the Lions drag strip. Oh my word, I fell madly in love with drag racing all over again, because I'd only seen it on television every once in a while in magazines. So getting to come to the Lions drag strip was a true delight. I'm a registered dental hygienist, and I had met George Hurst and Wally Parks at the Daytona 500 the year before, and I heard about they were going to be looking for a new model. But I take Hot Rod Magazine, of course, because that was my racing Bible back then, still is. And it says, "We are looking for a new Miss Hearst Golden Shifter. She must have a good personality, like racing, can travel, and have sound teeth." Well, I cracked up. And I called George up. I said, "Y'all looking for a race queen or a race horse?" There were over 200 girls in the contest. Came to Hollywood, and Wally, everybody in drag racing was there. It was fabulous, and I was crowned Miss Hearst Golden Shifter. Off and on 60 years I have been Miss Hearst Golden Shifter, and I own the title Miss Hearst Golden Shifter, and I can still shift gears and throw the clutch in. I was very, very honored when Rick Lorenzen and Lana got in touch with me to tell me I was nominated, and I saw the list of great people that are going in there with me. I think it's a dear, dear honor, And I'm not through yet. Of course, I'm an older model, but I can still shift gears and I can still talk about this industry and sport. And I don't think there's an age limit to two things, motorsports and music.
Holding up well for 50. Linda's got a personality as big as Georgia, and what I love about her is she is a Southern belle through and through. But God, if you want to hear the dirt on people from back in the day, she can tell a story like any sailor out there.
I don't tell on the boys.
I'm letting you close the show. Most of the people that are inducted into Motorsports Hall of Fames did it by holding a steering wheel. Some did it by holding a wrench. Some with a pen, a camera, a microphone.
I held my breath.
Okay. Drinks, please.
Jack, you're the best. Thank
Where
you.
was I on my notes there, Linda?
I don't know. I can't see.
Some did it holding a paintbrush or a paint gun.
I'm 80 years old, by the way. I'm 80.
She's lying by 20 years because 80 doesn't look like that. Linda is one of a kind, truly one of a kind. Linda held a 10-foot tall shifter there, but Linda's getting in here because she held us. Our hearts, our gaze, you're a fascinating human being.
Thank you.
Getting a chance to talk to you. I knew at 10 I was on the right track when I cut a picture of her out of the magazine and glued it on my wall. And you might be 80, but you are still absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Our last inductee tonight is going to be Miss Hearst, Linda Vaughn.
Thank you.
Guys, we're wrapping up the silent auction.
Thank you. I promised I wasn't going to cry, but I lied. Jack had my picture hanging in his bathroom. Let me tell you something. If I had the money, I'd put Jack McEwen in a funny car right now, because he could drive the hell out of a race car. And
Is Forrest still here? John, you listening?
Hey, Forrest, you did another driver. I just want you to know it's an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to be here. And I said I wasn't going to cry, but I lied.
Linda, I have a question.
Okay.
I wasn't lying earlier. Linda didn't attend the last drag race. Why not?
I got married that day. McEwen called me. Everybody called me, and I'm sure they had a great time, but I sent my whole wedding party up there. And last year when I came back here for the first time in 50 years, wow, my whole wedding party was here at the Lions Drag Strip Museum, and it was amazing. When George Hearst told me, Linda, we're going to Long Beach, I about fainted, because I'm from Dalton, Georgia. I'm a redneck from the mountains of Dalton, Georgia. Daddy was a sheriff and a bootlegger and a chicken fighter. What am I going to be doing going to Hollywood and Lions Drag Strip? Well, my mother made me a costume. I held my breath in. I practiced. I did my bow. But it was fascinating to come in here and see all those dragsters that I read about, all the cars. I mean, like Jack Christmas, my first funny car driver I ever seen, Lana, by the way. And I was so proud to represent Hearst, but I was nervous. And George goes, what's wrong with you, Linda? And I go, all these movie stars and things, and I'm from Dalton, Georgia. I hope they don't throw anything at me when I go down the drag strip. Well, they threw me kisses on the way back up. And it was fabulous. And I brought my mama out here. And then when I got married, the whole wedding party, too bad Bill's not here tonight, but most of my wedding party is here tonight. Rossi and everybody, thank you. I was so proud of the fact that I was a part of the Lions Drag Strip. And I'm honored, and I think, Jack, that you and I have 48,000 Lions places to go and visit and get the world turned on to the Lions Automobilia Museum. I mean, congratulate you, sir. I think you're a good-looking man, too. and I'm single. And Tammy, is it okay if I flirt with your daddy? Because I've been divorced since 86. I got 86 and 86, but let me tell y'all something. I'm still single. I want to thank my family. Just look at y'all. I got a rock star Buck, Sonia, Judy. Hey, Kathleen Gipatrani from Gratiot Auto Supply, Henry and Marcia, and that cute little thing sitting right there, Mary Chandler, who was married to Michael Chandler, who hit the wall at 200 miles an hour, and she brought him back to life and took care of him. Bradley, Mary's mom, thank y'all for being here with me tonight. I might cry and drink a little on the way home. Keith Black, Ed Pink. Do y'all realize what it was when George Hurst brought me out here the first time we go to the Lions drag strip? The second day, he takes me to Ed Escuderian's shop. I'd never seen so much stuff in a shop in my life as Ed Escuderian. And I'm a pack rat, but you got me beat, Ed Escuderian. What a privilege and a pleasure to get to meet the cam man himself. I read about this, remember, North Georgia mountains. And I was so honored to get to know all the heroes that I read about. Warren Coburn Miller, I mean, everything. The snake, the mongoose. Of course, I asked mongoose, don't get mad at me now, Lynn. I asked them, I said, since y'all met me, how many boobs did y'all buy all those models? Because every time I'd see them, they'd have a set of boobs. Well, these are homegrown from Dalton, Georgia, and I ate my grits. George Hurst believed in me. He supported the fact that we were going to make the safest equipment that we can make. He even developed the rescue tool. And we went literally all over the world, Vietnam included, to represent a company for 60 years. Let me tell you, I could still throw the clutch in and shift gears. Thank y'all so much. And I just back to flirting with you, handsome. Would you come up here? Thank you so much.
Our last inductee.
Thank
Linda
you all.
Vaughn.
God bless you. God
Ladies
bless
and
you.
gentlemen,
All of y'all. Thank you.
We're going to have Linda keep the stage. I'd like to invite up our other 7 inductees for the photos tonight. I don't know if you guys noticed, Linda's finally overcome her shyness, but she still has those beautiful, strong teeth. If I can get all of our inductees to come up and you guys bring your plaques up here, we're going to do group photos. Did everybody enjoy the evening? On behalf of Lions Automobilia, Rick and Tammy Lorenzen, our great video staff back there, Dimitri, Ryan, Tom, thank you guys. Phenomenal job, phenomenal. Lana Chrisman, who juggles chainsaws here and we managed to pull this thing off. Thank you guys again for a wonderful evening. Make sure you check the silent auction, see if you just bought a new car. You guys have a wonderful evening.